our next
Well,
guest.
hang on. Start it over again. We're just now recording. All right.
My bad. All right, now we welcome our next guest, one Joe Castiglione Jr. Joe, how are you?
I'm excellent. How are you guys doing? I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. We're all doing great. Happy to have you on. I do got to ask you a question before we really get into the meat and potatoes of grilling you and trying to offend you the best we can. Who is your NFL team? Who are we rooting for tonight in the NFL draft?
I'm a Chiefs guy, so I'm looking for them to. The good news, it's like a good news and bad news because every time somebody's like, "Oh, you're a fair weather fan," I'm like, I was born in Missouri, so I have that to fall back on. And then my mom is from Kansas City, born and raised there, and so I'm looking for them to move up.
Chargers, baby.
Chargers. All right, buddy. We'll see you in the division next year. But looking for them to move up to select a tackle. I think that's the move this evening. They're going to slide up and take a tackle. So I'm watching.
Yeah, I think a lot of tackles will be taken in this first round. I think that's a big spot for a lot of teams.
It really looks like there's going to be an offensive dominant first round today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're looking at least like 6 to 7 players in the first 10. And after that, it's a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll kick this thing off. Obviously, you have the new podcast over at Sooner Scoop with yourself, Isaac Stoops. Tell us a little bit about the family business and how that all came to be.
So with the family business, we're trying to kind of marry the alumni base with maybe peeling back the curtain of college athletics and operations and kind of just showing different areas of the what makes the business go. And so we were talking with them for a while. They wanted us to, explore and kind of bring alumni and different employees or even anybody. We're going to be expanding a little bit here in a little bit in this summer a little. So we're excited. We're just like to say, peel back the curtain of college athletics and, show what we grew up around, with our parents, of course. And then, hopefully learn a few things as well. So,
yeah.
You don't have to pull any punches here. What's it like having Kerry Murdoch as a boss? I've worked with that guy before. I only have positive things to say. So I just want to see if the perspective is the same, with you.
Oh, the perspective is the same too. Kerry's been a wealth of knowledge too. And that's not just my political correct answer. So I don't get canned after this, but no, Kerry's been great to work with, especially he's really good behind the scenes too. I think a lot of people, he does a lot of the production of it. And so we're building a studio over on Campus Corner too. He tweets about that all the time. And sometimes you can actually hear it in the back of the videos, but we're building a studio. It's going to be ready in early summer and definitely for game day. So we're excited, but I've loved working with Kerry, Eddie, George, Bob, Josh, and Isaac. Mouthful, but I've loved working over there with them.
Okay, wait, real quick though, who came up with the name for family business? I just want to know how that idea got thrown out there.
So
it's smart, it's good.
So we were throwing around a couple different ideas here, some that never really stuck. And then Kerry recommended, he's a big Kings of Leon fan because he knows some of the follows, and he suggested the family tree because there was a song called the family tree. He's like, we can ask Nathan, like, if we can use it and be great for an intro. And then I told my dad, and he was like, how about the family business?
The man himself.
I wish I could not give him credit because he just comes up with stuff like that. I guess it's his marketing brain from the old days, but he came up with it and it stuck and it was really good. I'm like, you know what? I didn't need to hear any more names after that.
He's got a knack for those things, it seems like.
As a person that the Kings of Leon follow, I would think that they should still let you use the song.
I hope so too. We need a little bit of an intro, hell, we would even have them on the show. And so maybe just one of the game days. One of the game days, we're just going to drag them over from the stadium and have them throw on a headset. But I think they should as well. I mean, it's a win-win. The family business makes it really big, which is coming, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. For sure. So obviously you grew up around OU athletics your whole life. And who are some of the players that you kind of spent time around that maybe kind of helped mold you and kind of give you the, I don't know, vision of what it is to be a college athlete?
So I've been very fortunate growing up around the family business. And so that's all I'll toss it in there. It's a good way to describe it, though. Growing up around college athletics, a couple that come to mind are actually, one is a basketball player, Kevin Bookout. He is a big forward center. He played for Kelvin. I remember looking up to him, and one time he gave me like a sweatband, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the entire world. I was really young at this age. I don't know, under 10 or so, 10 or under. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And so that was like my first thing.
Do you still have it?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think so, but there is a chance. There is a chance.
All right.
I'll have to check, but there is a chance. And then growing up and then really just watching, I was more of just like a fan. And so that was really cool. We had Kenny Stills on last week because I remember really being a fan of the Cali trio, of Kenny Stills, Brendan Clay, and Tony Jefferson. They were kind of trailblazing and kind of coming to California, and they had this persona about them, for lack of a better word, they had this swag. And so their reputation kind of preceded them. And so I remember watching them. And then one time I tweeted like Tony Jefferson, and he like replied, and I thought, dang, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
I had the same experience, and I was like, I'm on top of the world right now.
It really is. And it's so funny. Like looking back, we're like, wow, that really I still remember it today clearly. Yeah. And so people like that. And then of course the greats, Sam, Landry, underrated Landry. Everybody forgets about Landry Jones.
Yes, I know.
We don't forget.
No, we don't forget.
We try to.
He's he's one of the great Oklahoma quarterbacks, statistically. And so just watching people like that, but those were just a couple kind of off that just really stuck to me, and was really fortunate to be around, even though I wasn't really around them, but just watching and growing up and being around Oklahoma.
Well, answer the tough question here: Baker or Kyler? If we're starting a team right now,
am I starting an NFL franchise, or am I taking them back in their college days and trying to win a national championship?
Both, one of each.
Well, that's a split because I think Kyler has some of the, it's apparent he has top level physical tools. I mean, obviously not in height, but in everything else. I mean, the ball explodes out of his arm. He's really fast. He's understands and reads defenses in a very complex way. So he's really a sharp dude. But there's just something about Baker's tenacity. And it was shown this year, even in the NFL, after, a very up and down career. But if I'm trying to win a national championship, I'm probably going with Baker just because of his leadership. And I think we see these leaders in college football, and I think there's leaders and like people that actually lead. And so, and I'm not calling out anybody, but I'm just saying Baker just had this way of lifting up everybody. And so that's why 2018 is still 2018 Rose Bowl is still like the most sickening day of my life.
Yeah.
Because we should have won it that year. But if I'm starting a franchise, I'm choosing Kyler just because I think you put places and systems around him. And that's just, he does things that other quarterbacks just can't do. But that's one of each. So I'll split and pick. I know that was supposed to be a really hard question, but I took the easy way.
I think that's the answer that most Oklahoma people would have, though, if they really boiled it down.
I think so too. And it's kind of funny because I think Kyler is almost kind of underappreciated a little bit.
Yeah. Just
because he followed up Baker. And I mean, he won a Heisman, but his season was, you go back and watch highlights, you're like, don't even remember this. But it was just because those are back to back. I think he's kind of underappreciated just from the fan base as a whole because he really was that good. I mean, that roster was talented, but it wasn't like the year before. And so he really was that good.
Oh, also congrats to Baker. He just had his little girl.
If I had to guess if Baker was going to have a boy or girl first, I would have guessed a girl. And so that's just what was going to happen. He's probably going to have like 3 girls, if I had to guess.
He honestly, he gives me girl dad like energy.
Oh, I can see it. And so if it would be a cool scene, a Baker Mayfield Jr., 25 years from now and seeing what that looks like. But I think he's going to have like 3 girls. But yeah, no, congrats to him. It was really cool seeing the Buccaneers come out with that picture with like Tristan Wirfs and them both having their kids. What was the name again? It's like Kova,
I think.
Jade?
Something, yeah.
It sounds like Kona Ice.
Cool. It was definitely yeah.
No hate.
Different, but it was really pretty. Yeah.
I mean, look, it's the only snow cone stand where you can actually, put the flavors on yourself. I'm a fan. Okay, because they never give you enough. They never give you enough flavor. Well, let's talk about the current quarterback and just the spring game in general. What was your thoughts, your takeaways from the spring game from Jackson Arnold? I thought he looked really good. So, I mean, but that's just me and Preston in the studio trying to do a radio show while watching the game.
I know, it's kind of funny because I think everybody knows in the back of their head, they're like, it's a spring game. I'm not really for sure what I can actually take from it. But at the same time, I thought he looked really good. And I really think, Deion Burks looked fantastic. I think even if he didn't have one catch Saturday, I still think he would have a monster year, and I still would have thought that. But Jackson looked really under control. Nobody's questioning his arm talent. We're all questioning about how fast he can make decisions. Is he able to kind of move around in the pocket? Because he is going to be under a little bit of duress. It's no secret that the weak point of Oklahoma this year is going to be the offensive line. How weak, we're not for sure. And so how he's able to navigate the pocket and just avoid turnovers is going to be really critical. And so the fact that he didn't throw a turnover, or he didn't really, that I remember, see a pass that was like really in harm's way is positive, because yes, it's against the twos, but you can easily throw an interception against the 2 team. And so I thought he looked really good. Really excited about the defense. I think they're going to be really deep. That linebacker position, really the front 7 and safeties. So, really 9 out of 11, really, really shored up. It's going to be interesting to see if they get another defensive tackle out of the portal, because I think inside interior, like a 3-tech or a nose guard, is kind of where they're weak at a little bit. But if they're able to grab one of those out of the portal, I think you could be looking at like a top 15 defense, top 20 for sure, somewhere in that 10 to 20 range. But going back to Jackson, I thought he looked really good. 10 for 20, isn't going to win you a spring game MVP award, but I thought he looked really good in navigating the offense. And it's going to be interesting to see the little niche changes between Seth Luttrell and Jeff Lebby. I think they are going to do a little bit. It's apparent they are going to be a little bit different faceted than they were last year. I think there's going to be a lot of run game emphasis and just getting the ball out of Jackson's hands. So
no jet sweeps. No
jet sweeps. As you guys probably know, I am so anti-jet sweep, especially running it multiple times in the same game. I'm not an offensive guru. I'm not. But I have enough knowledge to understand when and when not to run a jet sweep. And so last year I was clearly just absolutely livid when there was multiple jet sweep run in a game. And guess what? We lost, not a coincidence.
I think everybody had the same feeling. You mentioned that offensive line. What were your thoughts post spring game? Because you sit there and you look at Deion Burks, his performance. That kind of leads you to believe that Jackson Arnold had a little bit of time there to sit in the pocket and find some open receivers. So, what were your thoughts, at least after the spring game?
I thought they held up. Maybe surprisingly well. They are going against the twos. The ones, twos. Kind of mixed, but I still think you can extrapolate a little bit that they did look pretty good and they looked pretty solid. And that's kind of consistent with sometimes in between years for Bill Beanembo. He's able to put together an offensive line that's not going to win a Joe Moore Award, but it is going to be good enough to win you some ball games. And so I think they're going to be fine. We'll see if that they had a Hickman kid commit from Southern Methodist who's going to slide in at center. I think that's a big need with Troy Everett getting hurt. And so I think the addition with him, and then maybe, you never know, one additional portal guy on the back end, but it doesn't look like it, but there may be. I think they'll be okay. It is the weak point. And but on the other side, I think they're one bad injury away from really being in trouble.
Yeah.
Especially on the tackles.
Aside from the offensive line, what do you think is going to be like the most important factor for OU moving into the SEC? And do you think they're ready to really compete with the rest of the teams in that conference?
One thing I think that they've already addressed, except for the offensive line, is just depth. I mean, I know BV always uses his coach talk of competitive depth. I think they've done that through recruiting and portal, and I think they've done that the right way. I mean, the way to build a championship roster is to recruit well out of high school. It seems to be in football, and then backfill into the portal from the portal. And so I think they've really done that well, because it's different, because the difference between the SEC and the Big 12 is, the Big 12 has a lot of good teams, but the top is really good. But, some of the bottom might not be as competitive. But so week in and week out, you're dealing with kind of just a higher level of teams. And so you are going to get banged up a little bit. You are going to have some injuries here and there. And so just adding that competitive depth and just players who can slide in and play has been, and I think is the biggest key of adjusting to the SEC. But other than that, I think they're set up good this year, not schedule-wise, but I think if you told me a year ago that they're going to go in the SEC with this kind of depth chart, I would have taken it. So
yeah, for sure. So you were inside the football program, we'll say, when Bob Stoops was head coach, there as well when Lincoln took over. What was that time like, going from, legendary head coach and Bob Stoops to a guy in Lincoln Riley who had the best offense in the country, but had never really led a team, as the head man for it, never had actually. What was that time like at Oklahoma?
It was really interesting. It was really cool time and fun time to be around, because you got to play, like you said, for those two different head coaches, no matter how anybody feels about the latter one. But it was really cool to see. Bob, definitely more hands off in terms of just allowing his staff to work and do their job and trusting them more. A little more less diligent with the scheduling, as in like he would trust that we're going to cram this in 2.5 hours and we're going to get it done and not worry about it. You could tell, especially in Lincoln's first year, he did, I think it's natural for first year head coaches to kind of grasp control. And so you could tell that he wanted to have us spend, within NCAA regulations, so I'm not going to get him in trouble, but wanted us to spend much time as we can up there, just because he wanted to make sure we're ready. It wasn't in any malicious way, but, extra walkthroughs and extra player-led practices, stuff like that as well. So the difference was kind of just the way they structured the time in the building. Bob was extremely family-oriented, of course, with his brother being on board, and then, Drake playing later, even though it was after he left. And Lincoln was a little bit more business oriented, but I think there's positives to both, I really do, and so doesn't mean Lincoln wasn't talking to everybody. He knew everybody's name, he would talk to everybody one-on-one. So it's not as much as that. It was just a little bit more of kind of a swing of, family to business. And I think even year 2 with Lincoln, he kind of came back a little bit too, but it's natural, when you slide into a big job like Oklahoma, you feel that pressure. And so you're going to want to try to control every little bit. So that was the biggest difference between the two. It clearly worked out well. We had a great first year, and then even the second year we went to playoff as well. So positives to both, but it was really interesting. I mean, I still remember the day Bob retired, like it was nuts. It was the fact that it was in the summer, it can never happen. Now. Like, that can never happen with the portal now. The fact is, in the middle of summer, he's like, hey, I'm going to retire. And we're all in class, pulled out of class, and he tells us, and then Lincoln. But I honestly enjoyed playing for both. I really enjoyed playing for both. Both did a lot of things well. And so, I'll take the clap out of that. Yeah.
I would have never guessed that Lincoln Riley was a control freak. He just doesn't give that off.
I never
I never once experienced that when I was in school. and we were getting in trouble for, watching practice on the balcony. So,
yeah, see, those two don't add up, do they? Yeah.
No, I would have never guessed that. No. So, all right. So we're talking, I think we're done talking about the team that could win it all. And we're going to talk about the team that is going to win it all. Right. The Oklahoma City Thunder up 2-0 against the New Orleans Pelicans. Right after Kylie texted us and said, "Hey, Joe's in for the interview." I'm watching the game. Me and Preston, we run. Preston runs the English version of the broadcast. I run the Spanish version of the broadcast of the Thunder games. And we're watching the game, and what do I see? I see your face right there behind Mark Dagnall. I was like, beautiful. I was like, we definitely got. I want to ask you about the atmosphere of this game. What you think of this team? Are you as excited as I am? Preston's really not that excited. He's still a hater, but I've got the.
I wouldn't go that far.
The blue shirt. I mean, I'm glued up until June.
I haven't felt this way about. I mean, everybody would say about the Thunder, since 2016, is that the year 3-1? But
yeah,
man, it's so exciting walking into that building and just being around Scissortail Fly Park before the game. I mean, the energy was unmatched. And when you got in there, everybody was in there. Everybody was in their seats 30 minutes before tip off. Everybody was wearing the shirt. I mean, I haven't seen an atmosphere like that. I mean, I even would say, just from remembering, I mean, I kind of have a bias because this was Sunday versus a few years ago, but I went to the game that they actually went up 3-1 against the Warriors. And I was sitting in Loud City for that one. But I remember the crowd being great. But the other night, it just felt like everybody came together. There was this energy. I mean, drowning out the Pelicans lineups because we're chanting OKC so loud. I'm glad they won, and I'm glad it was a close game in a way because it just kind of rewarded the fans that night. It wasn't pretty, but I mean, they could have just blown them out. I mean, I would have been happy with that too, but it wasn't pretty, but it just built up to be a hell of a night in terms of atmosphere. I haven't seen an atmosphere like that maybe in my lifetime, especially for for a basketball game, college or pro. And it felt like a Western Conference Finals, NBA Finals type of atmosphere. We're in round one. So I'm really excited. I think this series, it helps Pelicans not having Zion, but taking care of business, getting in and out in 4 or 5 games, preferably 4. Let's go and sweep them 4-0. But if we get out in 5 games, no sweat, no foul, and a lot of barking will be going on. But I'm confident. I'm confident. And then just the way the East is shaking out too, it's almost like the winner of the Western Conference is going to be the winner of the NBA Finals this year. So I'm really excited. I mean, like I said, I've been engaged with a team like this in a long time, and it's really exciting. How about yourselves?
Yeah, no, I think it's great to see the whole city just, getting all behind this team, especially a team of just young guys who they don't really know any better, right? They're just going out, they're playing ball and winning. So it's awesome.
As far as environment goes, like you were saying, I mean, even just watching it on TV, first of all, I haven't seen that arena that packed maybe ever in my life. And also just seeing everyone in the white shirts, everyone was doing it. It was just so cohesive. I mean, that was super, super fun to see just from the support that they were getting.
It's really a testament to the city as a whole. I mean, it's corny, but that's just kind of what Oklahoma is about. If you had to take a little bit. And that was what it looked like Sunday night. And it looked again like that last night. And they played a lot better. So it's kind of hilarious how young they are because you're thinking you're watching them. You're like, these kids are 25 or less.
Yeah.
Because they're kids. I'm calling them kids because they're less than me, younger than me. But
we can say that.
Yeah. These kids, these players are 20. I think everybody that scored yesterday was 25 years or younger.
Yeah.
And I think I saw a statistic for that. And so they don't know any better. I think you kind of saw that in game 1. They're a little bit tight, nervous, a lot of uncharacteristic turnovers and just missed shots, just missed open shots. They played good defense, but I think that just shows there's a little bit of nervous energy, their first taste of the playoffs. And so that's why everybody just come up behind them we're going to ride or die with you. And so everybody come together for that. It's exciting. I can't wait. Can't wait till they come back. Hopefully they'll go to the game at least, if not this series, the next series. So
For sure. So I've got one more question for you. It's about your dad and his suit game, because the man just throws fits every time I see pictures of him on the sidelines. How long do you think he could go without wearing the same suit combination? Because I think he could probably go at least a year, maybe, just from the combinations I've seen him throw out there on game days.
Oh, game days alone, 100%. He could probably go 2 years without his closet. It's funny because it's really not big at all. It's pretty small. It's a lot smaller than you think. And he keeps his fedoras. I don't even know where he keeps them, because I swear I've never seen them until he pulls them out in their house. And so I think he could go a solid 2 years without pulling out the same suit combination. If his shoes look good, his Jordan game looks good, it's definitely because of me. And if it looks bad, it's because he did not consult me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I am there. It's not great, the combination. But his suit game, though, I mean, people hate on him for the hats. It's just his moniker now. Hate on him for his hats, sometimes combination, but his suit game is unmatched. I mean, he really has got it going. But oh yeah, I think he could go 2 years of game days, and you'd probably go like 3 to 4 weeks without wearing the same suit. Man lives at the dry cleaning. I was joked around, like when we were young doing yard work and stuff, like this man would wear like a collared shirt. And I'm like, why are we wearing a collared shirt doing yard work? Yeah, but that's just how he is. He's always professional. And so
business all the time, man.
For you guys tonight. Yeah.
Well, okay. Before we let you go, we have 2 more things we got to talk about. We've got to talk about Arby's for one. So you're recently featured in an Arby's campaign for being a hater. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so I have been an Arby's hater for a few years now, undercover a little bit. So I sit on tweet. It's really wild, to be honest with you, because I don't actually absolutely hate Arby's. It's just probably not the top 5 to 10 places I'd ever go. And I have been a ton, so don't get me wrong, I have been. But it's not my top 5, 10 places. But I drive by this Arby's like almost every day, and there's never a line there. So I sent out this tweet of like, I've never seen a line in an Arby's drive-thru, because I have not, at least like the last 5 years.
And what was it? They made you eat your words?
They physically and metaphorically made me eat the words. And so they replied. Long story short, it was kind of scary for a moment because it all just happened so fast. I flew up the next week and was on a commercial. And yeah, they printed my tweet on the bun, and I had to eat my own words. And then I had to give my honest take on Arby's. It was honestly really good. Like, I'd go back. Like, I don't know if they cracked like the top 5 places I'll go, but I'm definitely going back for a roast beef or something like that. Curly fries. The curly fries and mozzarella sticks, I will tell you, they're really good. They were really good.
Yeah.
You go.
I don't know if they're in I don't know if they're in anyone's top 5, but I will swing by whenever I'm like, why not?
Yeah. Have we done a top 5 like fast food places yet? I don't know if we have.
I don't know if we have.
I think we drafted them, is what we did
a
while back. There used to be an Arby's in front of the Sports Animal Studio. And when I tell you that Arby's was like a lifeline at times, especially late night games, dude, their sliders, dangerously good. I mean, because you don't want too much Arby's in your mouth at once. Like that is for sure. So you go slider game and you're fine. So, but that Arby's was a lifeline until it closed. And those Java shakes or whatever they're called, like
Jamocha shakes.
Jamocha shakes. Yeah, those are amazing. So
they're really good. Back in the day, they had like before Wendy's 4 for $4, they had a 5 for $5 deal, and that's what I lived off of. Like as a child, like my mom would just say, she'd take my brother and I to Arby's, and she's like, "You both can get 5 items." We're like, "Hell yeah!" So we got like 2 sandwiches, fries, and a shake, and it was the best thing ever. So maybe I'm just slightly salty that they took that away, and I've just hated on them ever since.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was so funny. I wish they would just make me their spokesperson now, because I'd promote it. I'd eat it every day if they paid me.
Yeah.
It'd be great if you could just say, "We have the meats," for a living. Like,
exactly.
How amazing.
I don't know if I'd go as far as like be Jake from State Farm, completely signing my life away just to become this character, but I would consider it. But Joe from Arby's,
For the price.
Joe from Arby's, everything has a price. Joe from Arby's, it's got a nice ring to it.
There's a difference with signing your life away with Arby's. You'd have to smell like meat. Jake from State Farm is a good gig. Like Arby's, you wouldn't sign your life away.
You got the khakis.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd have to have my own outfit. Yeah, if you're selling your life for insurance, a little bit different than roast beef sandwiches and a tall red hat. You know.
It might shorten your lifespan just a little bit if you had to eat it every day.
That's why it had to be a considerable amount of money. Paying for years.
This is important though. So do you truly listen to bubblegum pop while you work out?
No. So, well, kind of. It depends what you decide. Because so what happened was I said Britney Spears. And they said, like, we need you to say bubblegum pop instead of that. And so I'm like, okay, I guess that's bubblegum pop. So I'm like, all right, I said that. But yeah, like my guilty pleasure is like Britney Spears, like Katy Perry, things of that nature.
Here and there.
Exactly. When I work out, rap gets old, rock gets old when I work out, but a little bit of Britney Spears, picks me up a little bit. So
yeah. I'm a Katy Perry bandwagoner. I'm with you on little Katy Perry.
She's got some absolute hits, like especially Pop the Sunroof, you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of vibes. So
yeah. All right, Kylie, end us.
All right, last question for you, Joe. If you could spend the day with 3 people, dead or alive, who would you choose to spend the day with?
Okay, first one, wild card. He's been my favorite actor for since I was a kid. Not because he's great at acting, because he's so funny, but Will Ferrell. Other than the fact he's a USC fan, I think Will Ferrell is so funny, and I've never. Some are obviously better than others, but I've never hated a Will Ferrell movie. Or at least there might be some really old ones, but I don't know. I've never hated a Will Ferrell movie, but I just think he's so funny and just energetic and outlandish that I'd be one. I'm hoping these all aren't at the same time, by the way, because these next 2 are like super serious. But like, second one, very, very common answer, but Jesus. Of course, I'm Christian, Savior. But even if you were not a Christian and you're not devout to following him, it's more of like he was a master of leading people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just could sit down and talk to him about leading people and, and talking to him about his trials and troubles and tribulations and stuff like that, I just think there'd be so much, even from that, from a non-faith standpoint, would be just so cool to hear. Especially if he was here today, like you could talk to him today, like how you could translate that.
Yeah.
To the third. And then the third one, I'm honestly pulling this one out of my head right now. Third one, I'd probably have to go. You have to give me a second.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, we the first time we asked this question, we got some wild answers. I think it was with our Savannah Banana friend, and it was like Jesus, like Lou Gehrig, and somebody else. Like it was like
said Tiger Woods.
Yeah, and Tiger Woods. Like it was like it was like interesting combo there.
What era of Tiger Woods are we talking about?
Oh, prime. We're talking prime. Yeah.
I mean,
throw Black in a golf cart together for the day.
Oh, that's the one I would want to meet as well. Yeah. This one, the Tiger Woods now just seems like he hurts all the time. I feel bad.
Like with your grandpa.
Stop and wait for a minute.
At the Masters, I felt like he just should have been popping ibuprofens or a little bit something stronger in between holes. It was like watching a dead man walk. He was just hurting. I was surprised he finished the round as a whole. All right, last one. I don't even know. That's what's crazy. I'll probably
you can pick one of us. That we'd be fine with that. Spend the day with
all 3 of you.
There you go.
All 3 of you. To Arby's.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Perfect.
Arby's influencer. So I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
No problem, man. We appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah, and make sure to go listen to Joe, the family business, Soonerscoop.com. It's where you can check out him and Isaac Stoops' podcast. Make sure to follow him on Twitter as well, at Joe C. Jr. 29. we'll have it in the tweet as well as we tweet this out. So yeah, thank you, Joe, so much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you and Isaac on your next podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.